Oh, hello there. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, where we bring you the trending tech headlines of the day, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. But I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. We're not actually live today. Instead, we're playing some of our favorite moments to celebrate 2019. So we've got some interviews that we're going to be playing. We've got some favorite segments that we're going to be playing, and all that. Well, we hope you enjoy this episode. So first up, we've got the tech entrepreneur and legend, Guy Kawasaki. Yes, Guy joined the show earlier this year, so let's revisit that favorite moment right now on Digital Trends Live. I'm very excited to join right now with a venture capitalist, a Silicon Valley legend, an author, and author especially of this, his 14th book, Wise Guy. It is right here, Lessons from a Life. We are joined now by Guy Kawasaki. Hello, Guy.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have to say, I love the blurred background on the Skype.
you know, Microsoft does things so well.
It's great. Well, we have so much that I want to talk to you about. I know we don't have a ton of time, so I want to do this. Just a 14th book. And with everything that you do, I mean, you're chief evangelist for Mercedes-Benz, or at Canva, you're a brand ambassador for Mercedes-Benz. I mean, you work for so many different companies. You do so many different things. How do you find the inspiration for another book? Like, what inspired this one?
Royalty.
I love it. Perfect.
What else you need to know? So, did you ever hear the Tom Clancy story? He was at a press conference for a book, and a reporter asked, Tom, what's this book about? And he said, it's about $26. I mean, I love that answer. So the question, well, to answer your first question, why did I write the book? There's two levels. One is I have two more kids who are in high school and still have to go to college, so I face a lot of tuition in my life. So that's number one. Number two is I'd like to leave something of value that, in the words of Steve Jobs, that can help dent the universe. And so what I wanted to do was basically compile all the mistakes and stories in my life into one piece so that people could discern as much as they could from my life and my mistakes. Don't get me wrong. This is not one of those memoirs where I'm telling you how I did everything right and just follow my path because I'm a perfect kind of guy. And that's kind of the motivation. Yeah,
to actually help people out and say like, hey, here's what happened here. Here's what I learned from this, good or bad.
You know the Chicken Soup for the Soul books? So the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, they're contributions from various people, stories of their lives and what they learned. So this book is like that, except it's all my stories. So I tell people you can think of it as miso soup for the soul.
I like it. There it is. There's the tagline right there.
There you go.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting here, I mean, in addition to the lessons that you give, but I feel like maybe you learned a little something as well, just especially with researching your family history. Because you talk about how difficult that was to go back. What was that process like?
Well, I asked some of my cousins, because I'm 64, so we're old already. Our parents are very old or gone. So both of my parents are gone. So I asked my cousins, and I had to go through some documents, and then I went to Ancestry.com, and it was not a trivial task. So one of the things I want to do for my children is I've documented as much as I know, so they won't have to go through that. It's one of the lessons I learned is while your parents are alive and cogent, you better ask them their story, because it ain't easy to recreate after. My gosh.
Right, because it's not like there's you can go through their Facebook history and see what they were posting about, back then.
Well, in my case, you can.
That's true. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, maybe it's a little TMI. I mean, but yeah.
Well, and you've got 14 books, so they'll probably be able to suss out a little bit about you down the line.
Would think. Yeah.
Well, one other, I want to ask about a couple of other things, projects, and we're getting questions coming in too that people want to ask you that I want to get to.
Sure.
One other thing on the book, I was wondering if you could just walk us through the thing that I find so fascinating, and I wonder if it could happen today or not, is with your first job at Apple. You said you did 2 tours of duty, as you call it, at Apple. But but that first time, you walked into one of the leading computing companies in the world, especially if not the leader at the time, and still,
Yep.
and you had hardly any computing experience.
Yep.
But yet they still brought you on to be an evangelist to tout their product.
Yep.
How did that happen, and do you think that could still happen today?
Well, this will be remembered as the interview of one-word answers. So, remember when I said royalty before?
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, how did someone with a background in psychology and jewelry sales get into the Macintosh division working for Steve Jobs, evangelizing Macintosh? And the answer is nepotism. So, my college roommate, Mike Boych, was the first software evangelist for the Macintosh division, and he basically hired me. And it is true. I had a BA in psych. I had an MBA in marketing. I never took a computer class in my life. I used an Apple II and loved it. And I also spent about half a year working for a small software company, because the transition to go from jewelry to tech was not easy. Basically, I was rejected by everyone. And so on paper, I was, the last person you'd possibly want to bet evangelizing your new S on. Oh my God.
Well, but you did it. Well, okay, but nepotism. Yeah. That's one of the big ways.
But the bigger picture lesson here is not that, make a lot of friends so they can hire you later. The lesson is that it doesn't matter how you get into the position. What matters is what you do once you are in. So the fact that I got in through nepotism, that helped me get in, just as if I had a PhD in computer science from Carnegie Mellon, or if I had run the third-party developer program for Hewlett Packard. All those methods can get you into a position. But about a week later, none of it matters. It also doesn't matter if you had a 4.2 GPA or a 2.65 GPA. Nobody cares about those kind of things. Can you produce or not?
Yeah.
And that's a very valuable lesson.
That's a great point. Getting your foot in the door sometimes can be the hard part, but yeah, once you're there, you gotta perform.
It's the great equalizer, yes.
Right. Well, I have some questions here that are coming through about something else, because you do so many things, and we'll certainly talk about the book here again. But Tina is asking, ask about Privy, so the social media platform. So as she said, you announced the private social media network a little while back, but we haven't heard an update. What can we know about that?
Well, Privy is an antisocial social media app, and so the use case is you want to share photos, text, links, and video with a small group of people. It is double opt-in, so you have to invite them and they have to accept. And once you're in there, in that group, that album as we call it, there is no algorithm that optimizes, guy wants to see surfing pictures and video, but he doesn't want to see, basket weaving. So if you're in the group, everybody sees everything. So the use case for me is I have a group that has only 6 people in it, myself and 5 members of my family. And let's just say that we post things in there that are not appropriate or of sufficient quality for Instagram or Facebook or Twitter even. And so, the context, well, we used to have a pug, and the pug used to crap all over the house. And so, I post pictures of, here's the pug crap on my bathroom floor. Now, would I have posted that to Instagram? Well, in my case, I might have, but would a reasonable person post that to Instagram? The answer is no.
Though the private group, I like that idea that you can share that with just select people, because you're right. There's a lot of things that may not be good for mass consumption by some people. Well, where's the platform at right now?
Wait, I'm going to quit a lot of apps. Okay.
Okay. How many apps do you have open right now?
About 8.
What app do you use the most?
Believe it or not, the one I use the most is Apple Mail.
Really? Apple Mail?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to go down an rat hole right now, but I love how Outlook handles email, except that Outlook, as far as I know, on a Mac, will not add an incoming contact to Google Contacts. And so I really need the ability to, okay, somebody writes me, I know it's going to be an important person. I want to add this person to my Google contacts to capture him or her forever. And to my knowledge, you can't do that with Outlook, which prevents me from using Outlook.
There
I
you
don't want it. I don't want it in the Outlook address book, right?
Right.
So anyway, so where were we?
So Apple, let's
Oh,
go.
dog crap. So the use case of Privy is, our pug craps all over the house. I take a picture of his crap on my bathroom floor. I send it to 5 people. It's appropriate and extremely funny. It's not appropriate or of sufficient quality for social media in general.
That makes sense. I love that idea. I've got another question about Privy, actually. Does Privy allow you to separate communication groups, or is your account your only group?
If I understand the question right, I have one album for my family. I have one album for my surfing buddies in California. I have another album for my surfing buddies in Hawaii. And so I have, 5 or 6 albums like that, and different albums get different pictures. But in each case, everyone in each album exercised double opt-in.
They both have to admit. You can't just throw it in like, hey, here's this picture.
I can't. Yeah, it's not like I'm just texting you a message or emailing you a message. You have to say you want to join this thing. So this is, not to be sexist or anything, this is the perfect mom app, where mom just wants to communicate with her kids and grandkids, not be out there on Instagram, not be out there on Facebook. This is the only 5 people I want them to see, my lasagna or whatever,
Right.
my new Ferrari, something like that.
Well, and I love the idea that it's a little bit more, private, but I imagine it's a little more secure. I would think if you have 2 people, I mean, as we all know, social media has got a little bit of a security issue, Facebook, right now. So that seems like maybe that would handle a little bit of that better.
Well, and there's no data mining, there's no ads, there's no nothing. So,
Yeah.
If it takes off, and it's to be determined yet, it's going to be a subscription model. So, you can either pay with your privacy or you can pay with money. Pick one.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. And where's that at right now? Can people sign up for it?
Yeah. It's in the App Store, and it's in the Google Store too.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to know about that. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about, and I know we have a little bit. We're starting to run low on time, but let's talk about the book here one more time. So, Lessons from a Life. What do you think? What's one thing you think people should take away from this book?
Well,
other than you get royalties.
Yeah. I think they should take away the fact that, life is not a straight, optimized path. There are many jogs to the side. There are many stumbles. There's some backwards. There's some forwards. There's a lot of mistakes. So I'm trying to at least help people make different mistakes as opposed to repeating mine. So I've had a lot of people test this book, and the comment that is most satisfying to me is that I read your book and I told this story to my kids, because they wanted to communicate a lesson, but they didn't have a way to communicate a lesson. So they said, this is what Guy did for. Can I give you an example of that kind of story?
Yeah.
Okay. So one day I'm in front of my house on Union Street in San Francisco. This is a very nice part of San Francisco, and I'm cutting the hedge. Okay, and this older white woman comes up to me and says, "Do you do lawns too?" And I just said, I'm Japanese American, so you assume that I'm the yard man, but I own this house, lady. And so, that's a good story right there about profiling. Don't make assumptions about people, blah, blah, blah. But wait, it gets better. So a couple weeks later, my father comes and visits me. I'm third generation Japanese American. He's second. He served in the U.S. Army. So, I fully expected him to go off on this. Like, how dare this woman ask you if you're the yard man just because you're Japanese? Does she realize you went to Stanford? You worked at Apple. You're kind of a big deal. You've written books. But quite the contrary. He says to me, son, on Union Street in San Francisco, a Japanese guy cutting the hedge in front of the house most likely would have been the yard man. So statistically, she was probably right. So get over it. It ain't personal. Man up. And that was a pivotal moment in my life. I learned, don't look for problems where they don't exist. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't be thin-skinned. Rise above it. And it all happened because I was out there cutting my bougainvillea.
That's fantastic. Learning lessons from everything, and that's kind of what this book is all about. Wise Guy, Lessons from a Life by Guy Kawasaki. It's out on February 26th, I believe, is when the actual date is. And where can people pick it up?
Oh, it'll be hard to avoid. I mean, obviously Amazon, CEO Reed, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. I mean, I'm going to cover the year. It's going to be like smog.
So find it everywhere. February 26th. Pick up this book. Learn some lessons. Help Guy out with his royalties and his kids' college fund. And Guy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you to Guy for being here on the show, and thank you to you for watching. We've got a lot in store on this episode, revisiting 2019, and up next, we're going to play a segment talking about the best products of the year. Yes, our editors have seen them all, and they go through what they think were the best ones. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
It's hard to believe, but 2019 is drawing to a close, and as we race toward 2020, we thought we'd take a look at the best tech we tested this year. It starts with the best car. Now, the best car this year isn't a multi-million-dollar supercar, a monster SUV, or even the Cybertruck. It's a Jaguar. Yes, indeed, the Jaguar I-Pace isn't even brand new for this year, but it's so good, it's lethal. Its 90 kilowatt-hour battery lays across the floor, giving it a super low center of gravity, and its wheelbase makes cornering a dream. It's the kind of car that fades away during a commute, but takes center stage when hustling through tight turns. In other words, it's a driver's EV with all the style and elegance you expect from Jaguar. On to Best Game, and I'm sorry folks, our pick for Best Game of the Year isn't Super Smash Bros., although that title will probably win plenty of popularity contests. It's actually Fire Emblem Three Houses. As a professor at an academy that trains the world's future leaders, your skill commanding students in battle is key, but your skill as a mentor is just as important. What makes Fire Emblem Three Houses an outstanding game isn't the battles and tasks on their own, but together they create a web of connections that work perfectly with the game's epic story. This is the must-have game of 2019 and yet another reason to buy a Nintendo Switch. The best headphones that came out this year were actually made by Apple. Yes, I'm talking about the Apple AirPods Pro, and if you're feeling a little surprised, well, so are we. The fact is the AirPods Pro are not just a triumph for Apple, they're a winner against many, many serious competitors. With a great fit, very good sound quality, and remarkably effective active noise canceling, the AirPods Pro are the true wireless earbud that will make the most sense for most people. Best laptop goes to the Dell XPS 13. In 2019, the XPS 13 went from great to nearly perfect. It starts with fixing the awkward placement of the nose cam, which now resides inside the top bezel where it belongs. It's got super thin bezels, sleek design, powerful yet portable, it's comfortable yet cutting edge. Then there's the long-lasting battery and fantastic display options. You can't find a more powerful PC at this size, and that's what makes the Dell XPS 13 the best laptop you can buy right now. Best smartphone goes to the iPhone 11 Pro. It's super powerful with bigger and better batteries and a camera that lives up to the hype. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is the smartphone to beat. It costs a cool $1,000, but the return on investment is huge. And with specs like these, the phone should be a reliable companion for years. Best tablet goes to the iPad Pro 11-inch. Slim bezels, Face ID integration, and 120 Hz display refresh rate provide features that MacBook Air owners will envy. The screen is large, gorgeous, and responsive, and the internals running the show behind it are the highest quality. Let's face it, in the world of tablets, there isn't any proper competition. But rest assured, the iPad Pro 11-inch will exceed your expectations. In the smart home category, it's got to go to the Google Nest Hub Max. The Nest Hub Max packages a bunch of must-have smart home devices into one tight little product. It's a smart speaker, digital photo frame, and security camera all at the same time. Video calls, cooking videos, security camera footage, it does it all. And with the Nest Aware program about to roll out, it's poised to become the most versatile home security system you can buy. Our favorite camera this year is the Sony a7R IV. Shutterbugs know this is the best camera released in 2019. With 61 megapixels, it is the highest resolution chip of any full-frame camera, but it doesn't bog down under that load. It's super quick. Sony's real-time autofocus, which uses artificial intelligence to track and recognize subjects, makes the a7R IV as easy to use as it is powerful. We also love its beautiful OLED viewfinder and weather-sealed design. Simply put, it's amazing. Headlining our Tech for Change category is the Gazelle Ultimate T10. It can legitimately improve your life. This electric bike still provides a workout, but since it can cruise up to 20 miles per hour, you are going to bike to your destination faster. It's got between 30 and 60 miles of range, and by replacing a car for commuting, it helps our environment. At $3,800, it's pricey, but it's built to last a long time and comes with everything a commuter needs, no add-ons necessary. Best wearable goes to the Apple Watch Series 5. Simply put, you'll not get more app integrations, more features, or better leave your phone at home experience than when you have an Apple Watch strapped on your wrist. And it's got every sensor you need for health and fitness. Take it on swims, take it on hikes, take it to work, and its battery will last you all day. There's no better wearable you can buy right now. And finally, best television goes to the Sony A9G OLED TV. It's beautiful. It has a speaker system hidden in the screen, which sounds surprisingly good, and the best picture processing out there. With perfect black levels, excellent shadow details, sparkling HDR highlights, remarkable color, outstanding upscaling, and one of the cleanest noise-free pictures we've seen, the Sony A9G is the luxury TV that outclasses all the competition.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler on this special episode, taking a look back at some of our favorite moments of 2019. And up next, we're going to play a very true entrepreneur here on the show who created a product that will help keep you safe while you're out riding your bike. And that is George Fox from Headcase. Let's go ahead and roll it right now here on Digital Trends Live. Technological innovations, new products, new things that you can use, and new ways of thinking about things that we use every day. And we're going to be talking about that right now. Joining us, we have from Headcase, the co-managing director and technical director, we have George Fox. Hello, George.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Doing great. We've got your product right here, this helmet that you've got from Headcase. Before I walk through this, because it's really pretty neat. I've been trying to play around with it actually all morning. Why don't we have you walk through and talk about what Headcase does, and then we'll get into this in particular product.
That's very kind of you, thank you. So the reason why we started Headcase is because cycle helmets do work. Apologies for the background noise. They do work. They save lives, and they're brilliant. We've got nothing against them. Unfortunately, they're very fragile. So most cycle helmets, this sort of thing that you'll recognize here, are made from a material called polystyrene. Now, if I sort of zoom in a bit close, I don't know if the video quality is going to show, but you can see there are some sort of split lines and damaged lines. And this can happen as just a result of the general wear and tear, everyday life using these things. Accidentally dropping it on the floor, something like that. And people pick them up and they go, no, I'll be fine, put it back on, and off they go. And it's very difficult to guarantee the safety of that product once it's had an impact. So manufacturers will always say you need to replace your helmet. Really, really important. And this seems crazy because cycling is, it's not clean. It's not easy. You can fall off, little knocks, little bangs. If you're an urban commuter, if you're a mountain biker, there's always a relatively high risk of bumps and scrapes and knocks. And you want to make sure that if there is an accident, you've got a product that will give you the best performance you can possibly have. And it's the reason why we've done this. So it recovers after an impact. It's a new material we've manufactured, we've engineered. It's called Encase. And that's why you can probably feel now, if you give it a bit of a squeeze, it's soft. It kind of feels like chewing gum.
Yeah, to showcase, I know we're broadcasting live here. I'm not sure if everybody can see, but like you were showing with the normal hard helmet, this is actually a whole bunch of pieces that are almost put together. And so it's flexible, I can bend it, I can squeeze it. Yeah, it's a very interesting material. Can you talk about the technological side of this?
Absolutely. So the reason why we wanted to do this is the challenge originally was, can we make a folding helmet? And in order to make a helmet fold with a rigid material like polystyrene, you need to have mechanisms. And that I kind of question, is that safe? Should you just have a single piece? So we wanted to have a material that just squashes flat because it's convenient. You can squish it like this, shove it in your bag. It's nice and easy. If you're commuting, if you're getting the train in and then you're cycling when you get there. The idea of the material is it can just withstand so much abuse, and it will still keep performing or giving you the level of performance that you need to have as required by safety standards. We've got one helmet that we've impacted over 200 times and hit number 201. It was still performing like it was fresh out of the box. So if you're going to have that many accidents, you should probably stop cycling. But the idea is we just give people that reassurance that it's safe, that this is not going to let you down. It's about time this changed, because that technology has been around since at least the 60s.
Right.
And look at the running shoe, look at other items and how technology's just absolutely skyrocketed away. And yet we're still working with the same raw materials. So this is why we've done this. It's time for a change.
Yeah, and talking about, the material itself, the safety side, I want to get into that just a little bit more too, about how this specifically works. But as far as the convenience factor, being able to, compress it and put it into like a backpack or something like that, this makes it way easier for people commuting around, even beyond, and I'm sure this isn't maybe not necessarily what I should say, but when it comes to like renting bikes or renting a scooter or something like that, where you need a helmet around, this could be a way that you could actually have something more portable, so you're not carrying around a big, giant, hard case all the time.
Absolutely. The helmet that will keep you safe is the one that you have with you. Sorry for the corny phrase.
Yeah.
And if it's easy to store, it's not something that you're just going to go, I can't be bothered, it's too big or bulky. You're going to take it with you. And it's the reliability. It's knowing that you can drop it on the floor. You can have a little bump. I'm terrible on my road bike, and I'll forget my feet are in my cleats and I'll wobble over a traffic light. Those little knocks, they're enough to potentially break the helmet. And people that are just, our biggest concern is, how can you be sure that the people that you care about are wearing a product that's going to perform and be safe or do the job it's meant to do in the event of an accident? And we wish that wasn't a concern that people had. So we're going to do the best job we possibly can to give them a product that gives them that reliability.
It's pretty incredible what you've come up with here. Now, on the technical side, so is this proprietary stuff that you have in here? I mean, maybe you can tell me. Me explaining is probably not going to do very much good, but with each one of these pieces, what are we looking at here that keeps you protected? So
the material inside is it's a foam, but it's our secret recipe. It's
okay.
Our recipe. I could tell you, but we're televised, so it's going to be
That's okay. Totally understandable. But it is pretty amazing what you've got here. And you've done a ton of testing on it. Like you said, you dropped it to, I don't know, a couple hundred times there for one person, or maybe more than that. What are some of the different ways that you've seen this utilized so far? Like, I guess, where is it at in the market? Because I know people are going to want to buy this. Where is it at in the market? How can people get it? Where are we at on that side of it?
Thank you very much. So at the moment, the product is now market ready. We are manufacturing here in the UK. You can go to our website. Am I allowed to say the website name?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are headcase.com. We're spelled, as you can see it down on the screen, just here, AYSE. And it's, yeah, we're manufacturing. It's just the start. It's taken years of development to get to this stage. We had an enormous amount of fantastic support from crowdfunders who have been with us for a couple of years whilst we've been sorting this out, getting it right. The amount of changes, the journey itself has been monumental, but it's now the start of the real journey. You know, the people who have ordered them, they're starting to receive them. We're getting feedback. It's fantastic to know that people that we are looking after are wearing these.
How does it feel just on a personal level? Like you said, it's been years of developing, years to get to this point. You've got it here in your hand. You're now, on a show talking about this product that you've created. Like, how does that feel?
It's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. It's been, a grueling 3 or 4 years, thousands and thousands of tests. When we started making this, the process for a lot of stereotypical cycle helmets is they make the products and then they go, oh, now we have to do the testing. Well, our whole intention was, let's make the safest helmet in the world. Let's do something that just blows everything else out of the water. And it's definitely the start of that journey. This is it's a very convenient product. It's great for urban commuting. It's great for urban living. It's great for if you're a mountain biker. There could be other products going forward. Obviously, the material works with so many other potential applications, but we just need to concentrate on our base, on our core, make sure we fulfill the existing orders and give people the opportunity to ride with us, see what they think. It's definitely, well, hopefully from our point of view, the start of a bit of a movement. I'd love to see this material replacing polystyrene in all cycle helmets going forward, because if it can be more reliable, which one are you going to choose? Obviously, the one that's not going to let you down.
I can tell you I want one, because I ride a bike. I live in Portland, Oregon, ride a bike all the time. Yeah, this is absolutely something I want. So very, very cool. Such a cool product. And congratulations on the success and getting to this point, from both the business standpoint, but also creating something that's really cool that, that potentially could change the industry.
Thank you ever so much. It's really it's good to hear those words.
Well, George, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everything you're doing. Again, Headcase, you can check it out, HEDCase, KAYSE.com, right there, and take a look for yourself. George, thanks for being on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you. A real pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
All right, huge thank you to George for being here on the show. We get to talk to a lot of amazing people, and that is what's coming up next. Yes, we have an astronaut on the show. We've got Mr. Scott Kelly. So that's coming up after this break. Stick around for more Digital Trends Live Best of 2019. I'm sure enjoying this show, and I hope that you are too. We've got a lot of great things coming up here as we go through taking a look at our favorite moments of 2019. By the way, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live, and we were fortunate enough to have Scott Kelly, yes, former astronaut Scott Kelly, stop by the show. So let's go ahead and roll that right now. Here he is on Digital Trends Live.
Scott Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, America. Sorry. Every time I went on a new mission, I felt like this problem had to be addressed. As I was floating in space, it suddenly hit me. The CO2 removal system on the ISS, it releases excessive CO2 into water, which reminded me of my SodaStream back home. This mechanism could also harness people's excessive CO2 levels and turn it into something awesome. As I returned to Earth, I partnered with SodaStream, the sparkling water maker brand, and together we developed the ultimate solution.
Introducing SodaStream Me, a breakthrough space technology. Just blow your excessive CO2 into your SodaStream Me and turn your extra gas into sparkling water. SodaStream Me is perfect for any occasion. After having a supersized salsa bean and cheese burrito, in the elevator with your boss, or for a successful romantic night.
Yeah, right.
SodaStream Me. Get it now for just $27.99 on SodaStream.me or at a pharmacy near you. Order now and get our special snoring adapter to start making soda in your sleep.
When life gives you gas, make sparkling water.
And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. There it is. You just saw the brand new product from SodaStream. And I'm joined now by the one and only Scott Kelly. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Going really well. Thank you so much for joining us today. So obviously today is a very special day, being April 1st. I do have one of the products here right in front of me, though, that SodaStream has graciously sent in to us. And I wonder if maybe you could walk us through how this idea came about. I'll open it up while we're on air here and where this idea came from.
Well, it came from, to be honest with you, it came from SodaStream. I think, they wanted to have a funny, engaging, entertaining April Fool's joke. So we talked a little bit about it, ideas about carbonation in space and the amount of CO2 that's on the space station. And, I think it was their creative people at SodaStream that came up with this idea that you could have a product that allows you to use your own carbon dioxide that we produce as a byproduct of our metabolism to carbonate water.
I like that, though, it's incorporated in with a little bit of, science, since it is NASA, and just the idea that there is excess CO2 up there, what to do with it. What was the filming process like for this?
I flew to Israel to film the commercial. It was a little challenging because I've been in Barcelona like 2 days before. I flew to LA for something and then flew back across the Atlantic Ocean. So challenging from that respect, but I was surprised. I'd done some stuff in Hollywood, other commercials, a few of them, and it was no different than how the guys in Hollywood operate. So it was a very enjoyable experience. The folks were very professional, and I think you can tell from the April Fool's prank commercial that it was done very well.
I got to ask, are there carbonated beverages in space? Can you bring them up, or is there too many issues with that?
During the space shuttle era, there was an experiment that flew a carbonator or carbonated beverages. I think it was like some kind of soda that has carbonation. The thing about that, though, is in the absence of gravity, bubbles don't rise or fall. Everything has the same weight, so everything floats, including gas. And when that happens, instead of like the bubbles coming out of the beverage, it would stay inside the liquid, and then you drink it. So you'd actually, be drinking more gas than you want. And then in space, for the same reason, you don't have any ability to burp it out. So it has to come out the other way.
Gotcha. That can make for an interesting ride when you're in a small space station, I'm sure, with a lot of other people.
Yep. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask, since we are talking about this with SodaStream and it's April Fool's Day, in this space station, like behind the scenes, I mean, you were up there with the same people for a long time, for a long number of days sometimes. So I'm sure you all get very close. Is there a lot of pranking that goes on? Does anything like that happen up there at the space station?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a gorilla suit that my brother sent me, and I put it on and I hid in one of my crew members' crew quarters in the dark. He didn't even know I had a gorilla suit on board the space station. Afterwards, I realized maybe it wasn't a good idea because, I could have wound up giving him a heart attack or something. But,
An international incident because of a gorilla suit.
So yeah, there are occasional pranks.
Yeah, that will happen. I want to ask just a couple of space questions as well, just dealing with this, right now, and especially, this kind of advent of such commercial space tourism, commercial space travel, commercial space exploration. How do you feel about that? And do you think that the commercial side is good for it overall, or should there be more of a NASA partnership?
I think a lot of people aren't aware that a lot of the commercial space success we see now is a partnership with NASA. Using SpaceX as an example, NASA's part of their program. NASA pays SpaceX to develop the resupply, rocket and spacecraft, and next year, or maybe even this year, hopefully we'll be launching crew members on that. So NASA's always partnered with private or public companies to build hardware. It's just now we're doing it a little bit different way. We're kind of giving them the freedom to go off and design something to meet mission objectives without telling them exactly how to do it. So it can be cheaper, hopefully, and just as safe. And I think, hopefully we'll see that as well. So, and then there are companies that are kind of just off doing their own thing, like Amazon with Jeff Bezos, and he's having a lot of success too on his own. So I think what's going on with the space program, not just with NASA, but companies that NASA's partnering with, but also these companies that are doing their own thing, is great for the whole space industry and, as a result, our country and the world.
Yeah, more people involved brings more eyes on it, brings more interest, I would think. Yeah, that. Yeah. For you, when it comes down to these different companies and the government side of it as well, where do you think we should go next? Should the moon be the concentration, or should Mars be the concentration?
In a world, I would say go back to the moon. And, it seems like the moon was put there a couple days away, sixth of the Earth's gravity versus a third of Earth's gravity, like on Mars. It's got no atmosphere, which makes some things easier. So I think there's still a lot to be learned by going to the moon. Also, a lot to be learned about the moon. But, it's expensive, and if we only want to do one thing, if we can only afford one thing in, let's say, the next 30 or 50 years, maybe that thing should be Mars.
Yeah. If that happens, say, and you're able to, would you want to go on that trip to Mars?
Can I bring my SodaStream with me?
Absolutely. You can bring your SodaStream. I mean, how are you going to get rid of that extra CO2 on that trip?
That'll be a big challenge. Having, scrubbing the atmosphere of CO2 all the way to Mars would be good to be able to utilize it in some manner. But yeah, so I would go as long as there was a plan for me to come back. I'm a big fan of Earth.
Yeah,
I think this is the best planet we're ever going to have. We definitely need to take care of it, which is another great part of SodaStream, is the fact that part of their business model is, hey, you carbonate water, and you're not creating and disposing of any plastic water bottles. And a lot of people around the world drink a lot of carbonated water, so we can save. If you had a SodaStream in your house. Tons and tons of plastic every year. So I think, get back to your original question, yes, I would go to Mars as long as I could come back, and hopefully come back to a good planet.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to SodaStream too. I mean, this product is hilarious. We do have their actual product up here as well, and like you said, it does help save plastic. We've got the real thing here too. Thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Really, really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure.
That was amazing. Thank you to Scott Kelly for stopping by. Hopefully, He comes by the show in 2020 as well. All right, we're continuing on with our best of 2019, and we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and take a look, though, at the last decade, the decade in space. Think of all the things that have changed with space travel, whether it's SpaceX or NASA or any of the other companies that are working on it. We're going to showcase some of the big moments, so stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
The last decade was huge for space exploration. We did a bunch of awesome stuff and reached a ton of major milestones. So before we hit 2020, I wanted to recap some of the wildest, most incredible achievements in space that we hit during the 2010s. Number 1, we made it to interstellar space, twice. On August 25th in 2012, Voyager 1, the space probe, flew beyond the heliopause and entered interstellar space, making it the first human-made object to explore this new territory. At the time, it was at a distance of about 122 astronomical units, or about 11 billion miles from the sun. Then in 2018, Voyager 2 did the same thing, so now we've got 2 space probes out beyond our own solar system exploring stuff. Number 2, in addition to visiting interstellar space, we also visited a ton of our neighbors in the solar system. So in 2011, the Messenger probe was the first craft to orbit Mercury. Then in 2015, New Horizons was the first craft to explore Pluto. We actually got images of this thing, and believe it or not, there's a landmass on Pluto that looks like the shape of Pluto, the Disney character. And that's not it either. We also visited a dwarf planet called Ceres. Ceres is basically the biggest asteroid in the asteroid belt that lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. It's 945 kilometers wide, so it's not technically a planet, but it's massive, and we explored that as well. Then after that, we also sent the Juno spacecraft to Jupiter in 2016, an event which a really weird-ass PR agency celebrated by making the world's most ridiculous sandwich. They actually sent this to Digital Trends' office in New York, and I'm still pissed that I didn't get to take a bite of it. We also crash-landed Cassini into Saturn in 2017. So after orbiting the planet for 2 decades, we kamikazed that shit into the surface for science, and scientists are still analyzing the data that we got from that event. And last but not least, we also landed the Curiosity rover on Mars. I actually think this is a big enough thing to just be its own item on this list. So Curiosity isn't the first rover that we ever landed on Mars, but it is definitely the best one that we've ever done. Compared to earlier rovers like Pathfinder and Sojourner, Curiosity has way more advanced tech on board. Like, in addition to things like instruments that can carry out soil analysis, it's equipped with a super robust camera system, which has beamed back all kinds of awesome stuff from the Red Planet ever since it touched down in 2012. If you want to see those images, you can actually follow Curiosity on Twitter and see what it's up to. So there's a robot on Mars that you can follow on Twitter. How rad is that? Number 4, we completed the International Space Station. It's easy to take this for granted, but right now, miles above Earth, floating around us at thousands of miles per hour, is a space station. It's a f***ing station in space. It is the end result of decades of collaboration between the most technologically advanced nations on the face of the planet, and it's been continually occupied by astronauts since 1999. We started building it in the 90s, but it was officially completed in 2012, and it's been hosting astronauts and running crazy experiments ever since. Which brings me to my next point, NASA's Twin Study. This is arguably the most amazing experiment that has ever been conducted in space. So basically, what NASA did is they took 2 guys, Scott and Mark Kelly, that are not only identical twins, but also happen to be astronauts. What are the odds of that happening at all? So these guys are perfect genetic copies of each other. So what NASA did was keep one guy here on Earth as the control part of the experiment, and then sent the other guy up to the International Space Station for a year so that they could compare how living in microgravity affects the human body. The study was completed in 2016, and scientists are still analyzing the data that they gathered from the experiment. One interesting takeaway? Apparently space screws up your eyesight. When there's not gravity to pull your blood down into your legs, it puts extra pressure on your optic nerve and messes up your eyesight. Who knew? Number 6, we got reusable rockets this decade. So one of the main reasons that space exploration has been so expensive is that most rockets aren't designed to be reusable. So basically we spend millions of dollars building them and filling them with stuff only to blast them off into space and either let them float endlessly in the void or fall back to Earth and burn up in the atmosphere. In other words, all those millions of dollars basically just go poof, and then we have to start over again for the next launch. But not anymore! Thanks to pioneering work from Elon Musk's company SpaceX, we now have rocket boosters that can be landed and reused. This drastically reduces the cost of launching stuff into space, which opens up all kinds of new possibilities for space exploration because now getting stuff into orbit isn't so expensive that only governments can make it happen. Number 7, we detected gravitational waves. Gravitational waves were first theorized back in 1905. But the thing is, nobody could really prove that they actually existed because we didn't have the necessary scientific instruments to detect them in the real world. So in the 1990s, we built this thing called the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, or LIGO for short. This thing has been collecting data ever since 2002, and for nearly a decade, it didn't actually find any concrete evidence of the existence of gravitational waves. But after getting some key upgrades in 2015, popped off. LIGO confirmed the existence of gravitational waves in 2016, and by 2018, it had detected 11 of them. Number 8, we got a picture of a black hole. So black holes, if you are not familiar, are called black holes because they are so massive that even light can't escape their gravitational pull. And since light can't escape them, they were once thought to be impossible to photograph. But in 2019, we did exactly that. How? Well, we basically had a global network of radio telescopes, collectively called the Event Horizon Telescope, examine the biggest black hole we could find from a bunch of different angles. Using this technique, astronomers were able to gather enough visual information to stitch together the first ever photo of a real black hole. Last but not least, we found a boatload of exoplanets. Exoplanets are basically planets that exist outside of our solar system, and in the 2010s we found more exoplanets than we had in all previous years combined. Prior to the year 2000, scientists had only found 29 of them. From 2000 to 2009, they found 392 more. But in the span from 2010 to 2019, we found 3,682 exoplanets, some of which are in the so-called habitable zone, where temperatures are mild enough to potentially support life. Basically, if humanity is ever going to colonize a planet in another solar system, chances are pretty good that we discovered that planet in the past decade. So there you have it. The past decade brought us stuff like reusable rockets, space stations, Mars rovers, and a broadening of our knowledge of the cosmos in ways that were once thought impossible. With that much happening in a single decade, it really makes you wonder what's coming in the next 10 years. Will we discover alien life? Will we send humans to Mars? What if we mine asteroids for precious metals? At this point, I'd say just about anything is possible, so strap in. The next decade of space exploration is going to be even crazier than the last.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you very much for joining us on this special show. We hope you're having a great day, just like we're having a great day. We're taking a look at some of our favorite interviews of 2019, and while yes, we have a lot of them here out of our Portland, Oregon studio, we also have our New York studio, and that's where this next one is from. It is with Mr. Terry Fader. Yes, Terry Fader sat down with our own Jeremy Kaplan. So let's go ahead and roll that right now. Here it is, Terry Fader on Digital Trends Live.
That's right, the one and only Terry Fader, who can do impersonations far better than Dan Gall. That was an interesting little puppet you had right there, but not as good as the real thing. Terry, thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be in New York City, especially with the snow. We don't get much snow in Vegas, although it did snow this weekend.
You can have all of it if you want it. We'll ship it up, we'll crate it out, we'll send it over to you. You can use it as a prop for the next show. So again, thanks for coming down here. I want to talk a little bit about the new show, which starts on Monday, you said? Fantastic. 10-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Yes, we're preparing for my 10th anniversary, which at the Mirage, as the headliner for the Mirage. And I'm doing that, I'm opening the show February 25th because I want it to be perfect for March 15th for the anniversary show.
Which is the day after my birthday. Hey.
Oh, right. Well, happy birthday.
I'll come out for the show. Actually, I won't. I'll be in Barcelona. I'll come out soon.
You should.
So again, headlining in Vegas, of course. I wanted to walk a little bit through your history before we get there. Can you tell us how you got started with ventriloquism and puppetry?
I was 10 years old. I found a book on how to be a ventriloquist. I was singing my whole life since as far back as I can. My first memory is singing to a bunch of adults. I found a book in my school library on how to be a ventriloquist. It was called Ventriloquism for Fun and Profit by Paul Winchell.
Perfect.
And, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember if that was the book, but I think it was that book. And there was a picture of a contract, and it said, you know, $500 for playing at a club.
And you're like, there's
money.
money.
My 10-year-old brain said, $500? I can make $500, you know, to play with puppets? So from then on, that just became my goal. You know, my parents had a janitorial business. And so they would, even as, you know, young as 8, 9, 10 years old, they would have me go in and clean buildings. So I'd be emptying trash cans. And I don't know who does yours, but it would be buildings similar like this. And at night, after it would close, we'd go in and we'd empty the trash, and I would empty the ashtrays, and I would clean the bathrooms. And I didn't want to do that for my life, so I would practice my ventriloquism while I was doing that. So I'd be singing along, you know.
So you're walking the halls,
exactly,
trash cans, and talking to yourself as if you're Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. So I'd be like, you know, raindrops keep falling on my head, you know, and I'd be, you know, that doesn't mean my eyes, you know. So that's what I would do.
And then, amazing. How many voices do you have?
I do, the last count was over 200. So we stopped counting after about 200, and we said, well, you know, because I have yet to find a singing voice that I can't impersonate.
Yeah. Is there a genre? So it's all about singing. You're not just doing stand-up comedy. It's exponentially more complicated.
Well, I do stand-up comedy through singing, because what I do is a lot of my humor is parodies of songs. And of course, growing up, Weird Al Yankovic was my hero. Still is.
I love Weird Al.
Love Weird Al. And I actually studied his. I mean, I would pick apart his parodies, and when I write parodies, I do them the Weird Al Yankovic way. I don't. You can't just put a random bunch of words, and it doesn't matter if it's funny, if it's not. You have to keep the basic song. You have to keep the basic song. And use the same words to the song. So, you know, I do have writers that I work with, and they'll send me a parody, and I'm like, that's nothing like the original song. No, use the same timbre and the same rhyming patterns so that it stays with it. And that's really what Weird Al, that's the genius of Weird Al.
But what's astonishing to me, maybe it's second nature, it's just so easy, it comes naturally to you, but different genres, country, pop, whatever it is, Justin Bieber, Michael Jackson, and then female voices as well as male voices. And you can, I think in the upcoming show, you do several of those simultaneously?
I do, yes, I do. I do female voices. I do Karen Carpenter. I do Etta James. I do Cher. I do Aretha Franklin. And then male voices, I do Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Justin Bieber.
I think you brought Sammy Davis down.
Justin Timberlake. I got, I'll pull him out.
Bring him
here.
out. Let's say hi to Sammy Davis.
Let's see. So he's just sitting there.
Ouch, Davey, how you doing? So nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to be here. Yeah,
Sammy, what's your take on Vegas? Do you like it out there?
I love Vegas, Davey. It's fantastic.
So
because I'm the candy man who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew.
That's it. So that's what.
Thank you.
And so this must be a big part of the upcoming show, right?
Absolutely.
And the whole Rat Pack is there?
The whole Rat Pack, yes. We've got who do we?
Well, we got Sammy Davis Jr.
That's right. This is Sammy Davis, and we got Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and then we're also adding Stevie Wonder to the show, and we do, and then we've got Willie Nelson. We're adding, so lots of legends. We just added Justin Bieber. I believe Justin came in for Christmas, but he's never been in my regular show. So Justin Bieber, and the cool thing about Justin Bieber is he has a puppet that pops up of Dolly Parton on his left shoulder.
A puppet with its own puppet.
A puppet with its own puppet. And a puppet pops up on his shoulder. It's Dolly Parton as his angel. And then Ozzy Osbourne pops up on his right shoulder as his devil.
It's groovy, baby. It's groovy.
Can you sing us a song?
Yeah, which song do you want me to sing?
Can you do?
Can you do? What? No, go ahead. Can you do Michael Jackson? She's out of my life. She's out of my life. Groovy, baby.
Groovy. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And we were talking about other things that you have other passions in your life. You're a big gamer as well?
I do, yes. I'm a huge gamer. I love to play games, video games. In fact, I have an Xbox, a PS4, and a Nintendo Switch in my dressing room. And before the show, that's how I kind of get my Zen moment. I play. Sometimes people will come in and to do meet and greets, and if I'm in the middle of a battle, I'm like, hang on, just give me a second, I'll finish my battle, you know. Right now I'm doing Destiny 2. I love Destiny 2.
Sure.
Just started playing Sea of Thieves, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
But I do a lot of Zelda. I like the games where I can pick it up. I haven't gotten into Fortnite. I've played a couple and gotten, blown away so fast that I didn't get a chance to really have fun with it.
I tried it once and I was just embarrassed.
Yeah, it's like these kids are so freaking good at it that there's no point. I'm just like, I came in late and there's nothing I can do. So.
And then, so you must have tried virtual reality as well. It's a big thing in the game.
I do love virtual reality. I have the HTC Vive. I've got the Oculus, and I also have the PlayStation VR, which actually is the one I probably use the most just because I have the least trouble with it. Mm-hmm. It's like every single time I get my friends and I'm like, okay, you got to see this. It's really, really cool. And I'm sitting there updating and I'm like, it won't work. I can't get it to connect. I can't. But with the PlayStation VR, while it doesn't have the, like with my HTC Vive, I've got a whole room dedicated just to the Vive. So it's got a lot more 3D space that you can use. Whereas you can't do that with the PlayStation VR, but every single time I pick it up, it works.
Can you share your online name in case people want to game with you?
Yeah, I'm. Let me think. I'm trying. Puppet Boy 2009. So if you want to game with me, Puppet Boy 2009. That's my Xbox, and my PlayStation is Puppet Boy. So just Puppet Boy.
There you have it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Tear Bear.
Oh, okay.
Tear Bear, T-E-B,
He's got several
T-E-R-B-E-A-R, Tear Bear.
Clearly.
Terry, that's what my sister used to call me before she passed away, so that's kind of a little, but Tear Bear is my PlayStation and Puppet Boy 2009.
So you just signed a 5-year, $100 million deal with the Mirage.
I did.
And congratulations.
Thank you very
That's
much.
Phenomenal. You're big into VR, and I'm wondering, what's the future of the show? What does that look like? Is there some way that we could bring some interesting technologies like VR into
I'm
it?
actually working with Katie Linendahl. I don't know if you know who she is.
I love Katie.
Yeah, Katie. I'm working with her, and we're talking about doing some cool VR stuff with the show and some other things. So keep watching for that. We'll let you guys know when that happens, and you can let other people know so they can check it out.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking about how you keep the show fresh over the years, because you bring in new characters, of course, but then you have to bring new technologies and keep reinventing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Always trying, and I'm always into it. I've got the latest computers. I've got all the latest everything, trying to keep up with things, and we're just trying to figure out. We tried to do a VR. We got the what's that? The Go Fusion, and we did the alternate audio on my last DVD, which was it's a Christmas DVD of my Christmas show, available on terryfader.com, and we tried to do that, and it just didn't work. We had it too low, and he said, basically, you're sitting there looking at our crotch the whole time. We had it sitting down, and so he said, yeah, it wasn't. But we're trying to find innovative new ways, because I have never seen anybody that did an alternate audio in VR.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of our idea, but we're working on some interesting things that I think people are going to find fun.
Keep innovating. I like that.
See what it feels like to be a puppet, maybe,
And then I hear you have some philanthropy efforts as well. I mean, $100 million, that's not something you can spend. You can only have so many Ferraris, right?
Exactly.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing?
Yes, we do 100% of the money, the profits that we make from sales of items. So like if you go and buy my Christmas DVD or any of my DVDs or any of my puppets that are available at terryfader.com, or if you come to the Mirage, which I've been there for 10 years, anything you buy, all the profits we make go to the Terry Fader Foundation, which works primarily with first responders and military, but we also have branched out to work with Shriners Hospital, with the American Cancer Society, working with kids with cancer. The Terry Fader Foundation flew a little boy that was close to passing away and is stuck at a hospital across the country, and we flew him in a private jet back home so he could die with his family surrounding him. little things like this. If you've never lost someone, that may not seem important to you, but it meant the world to the family that,
I'm sure.
that he was there passing away at home. We do, but we also, we do as much as we can to help as many people as we can with the Terry Fader Foundation. So,
that's fantastic.
So we'll be doing, so anytime you buy any of my merchandise, you're going to be helping people. So.
Well, give a little taste, if you could. What do people have to look forward to if they're going to come out to the show? Tell us about the 10th anniversary.
You're going to see dozens, and I mean dozens of different impressions. I have 24 different puppets that are going to be on stage in an hour and a half. The show flies by. We have one of the funniest things you've ever seen with my Elvis impersonator. Don't want to tell you what it is. His name is Maynard Tompkins, but let's put it this way. In 10 years, he's the only Elvis impersonator in the world who doesn't know any Elvis songs, but he has learned an Elvis song. So he says. He claims he's learned an Elvis song. So if you want to hear my Elvis impersonator, it's a puppet, of course. His name is Maynard Tompkins. Okay. If you want to hear my Elvis impersonator do an Elvis song, theoretically, you need to come and see the show in Vegas. But it's so action-packed. It's for every single age. Doesn't matter. It's clean. Not that I'm against dirty humor. I'm fine with it. I love humor with, I like Andrew Dice Clay.
But it's Vegas.
But just my show, it's very important to me that it's clean. It may, if you want to bring, it's 5 and up at the Mirage, so if you have kids, and we do have some adult jokes, but they're double entendre jokes where the kids won't get it, but the adults will. So it's a little bit of everything for everyone. And the musical range, oh my gosh, everyone from Justin Timberlake to Etta James to Nat King Cole to The Temptations to, it's just crazy. I mean, it's just every age, every genre, country, we do Willie Nelson. It's crazy. You got to come and see it. It's so much fun.
Well, we're running out of time over here, so I'm going to cut this short, unfortunately. Terry, it's been a pleasure talking with you. If you're interested in the show, it is at the Mirage. The new show opens up on Monday?
It opens on Monday, our 15th anniversary, and there's still tickets left. I'm sorry, our 10th anniversary is March 15th at the Mirage. So
you heard it here first. And if you want to game with Terry, now you know exactly where to catch up with him online.
Thank you once again to Terry Fader for being here on Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. As we continue through taking a look at some of our favorite moments of 2019, we're going to play an episode of Riley Wins The Deets. This episode is about deep fakes. That is something we talked a lot about over this last year. So he's going to walk us through what they are, what we can expect in the future, and a lot more. All of that's coming up. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Meet Stennifer Lore Semi, a deep-fake mashup of actor Steve Buscemi and actress Jennifer Lawrence. This deep-fake video portrait uses Buscemi's face on Lawrence's body, along with her facial expressions.
I've never looked better.
Scarily realistic deep video portraits like this could take fake news to the next level. And we'll explain why on today's episode of The Deets. You're watching The Deets, a show where we demystify the technologies that are shaping the future. If you think it's been a problem up to this point, the fight against fake news is about to get a whole lot harder thanks to artificial intelligence. You've probably seen examples of this deep fake technology in videos on the internet. It's been used in many ways, from putting Steve Buscemi and Nicolas Cage's faces on pretty much any actor from any movie, to being used as a cautionary tale for fake news. BuzzFeed joined forces with actor Jordan Peele to demonstrate how scary this technology can be, and how we need to be careful about what we see and believe on the internet.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. It's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources.
The AI technology that is creating these so-called deepfake videos has become more convincing at a rate that is terrifying. But what exactly are deepfake video portraits? How do they work? And do they have any practical uses? The latest development in this technology comes from an international team of researchers. They have created a deep learning AI system that is able to edit the facial expressions of actors to accurately match dubbed voices. In addition, it can tweak gazes and head poses in videos, and even animate a person's eyes and eyebrows to match up with their mouths. It works by using a model-based 3D face performance capture to record the detailed movements of the eyebrows, mouth, nose, and head position of the dubbing actor in a video. It then transposes these movements onto the target actor in the film to accurately sync the lips and facial movements with the new audio. The researchers suggest that one possible real-world application for this technology could be in the movie industry, where it could carry out tasks like making it easy and affordable to manipulate footage to match a dubbed foreign vocal track. It could also be used to essentially bring actors back from the dead, or even eliminate the use for actors altogether. These are possible, practical uses of the deepfake technology, but it's difficult to look at this technology and not see the potential of malicious misuse. This technology, along with other AI applications, make it possible to synthesize voices of politicians like President Donald Trump or former President Barack Obama. It can manufacture speeches from people of prominence that were never actually made by them. Online disinformation like this circulating through social media could sway elections and cause a public distrust of community leaders. Last fall, a bipartisan group of US lawmakers expressed concern that this could undermine public trust, while others have warned that malicious foreign actors could use them to interfere in the 2020 US elections. Let's hope the proper precautions are somehow put in place for regulating the use of these tools, or else this technology could take this current fake news epidemic into a dystopian nightmare where seeing and hearing will not be believing.
No! No!
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. As we go through some of our favorite moments of 2019, this next interview is certainly one that I picked out. It is with Albert Lin of National Geographic. I love the shows that he works on. I love the tech that he's utilizing, and it is such a fascinating interview to have, and we're really grateful to sit down with him. So let's share that moment together here on Digital Trends Live. It's premiering on October 20th at 10, 9 Central. Before resuming its normal slot on Monday, October 21st, will be the new show, Lost Cities, with Albert Lin. We have Albert joining us right now. Hello. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Hey. Yeah, thanks for having me.
I love the National Geographic Network myself. I'm just going to say that. That's not a paid sponsorship. I just like it. So here's where we're at. I want to talk about this show. It's such an exciting prospect. There we go. Perfect product placement. I'll get my Digital Trends cup up too. So let's talk about this show, though. I want everybody to know what this is about. Let's walk it through from the beginning so everybody can understand what we're talking about when it comes to Lost Cities. Albert, can you tell us about this show, what it's about, and what was the inspiration behind starting this?
Yeah, it is probably the greatest honor of my life, developing this show over pretty much my whole career in some ways. I mean, although it's only taken the last couple of years to get going and do all the filming, it was sparked by an early interest right out of my PhD to try to apply technology really new technology to exploration. And because of the stuff that we have now, because of the kinds of tools that we have now, things like lasers that can fly on planes, mapping through jungles, things like side scan sonar, things like really advanced ground penetrating radar. I think that we are truly in this moment, like truly in this time, in the new golden age of exploration, where the kind of watershed discoveries that you're going to start seeing over the next decade are going to fundamentally change how we know the world, how we know ourselves, how we know what it means to be human, and our shared story. So that's what this thing is all about.
And I want to get into some of the different cities and some of the experiences. You know, you mentioned that you've been doing this for a long time, and your history involved in, exploration is certainly well documented. And have you seen, with the advent of some of these newer technologies, has there been any reticence in the archaeological community to adapt some of this stuff? Is it something that's a quick adaptation of technology, or is it taking a little bit more work to get everybody to start to be used to these ideas of LiDAR and everything else?
I think the secret's out. I think people are pretty into it.
Good.
It's a matter of getting access now, right? The technology is pretty expensive to use traditionally. I mean, it's been very hard to get planes out in some of these super remote locations. But in this last year, I've been able to work with these unbelievable teams with these much more advanced sensors that have gotten cheaper and lighter. And so now we're flying them on drones, and mapping entire mountainsides, deleting the trees digitally, and all of a sudden seeing a world emerge that was lost to the jungle for thousands of years, maybe, right? I think the biggest fear that might have, sort of entered anyone's minds is just, what do you do when you make all those discoveries, right? If we do find all this stuff out there, how do you start protecting it? How do you start really trying to understand it? How do you start trying to know what it all means?
Well, talking about this show and the making of it, I know you traveled a lot of different places. Can you discuss a little bit about that, about this particular, I believe it's a 6-part series, and just where all you went for this?
Oh, man. It's been like the wildest year of my life. Okay, so, it started off in Israel. You're seeing some footage of that. Then I was in the jungles of Colombia, the highest coastal mountain range in Colombia, where you're in this rich jungle forest with the most insane sounds of nature waking you up every single morning. But you'd also wake up next to, a rock that you'd lift up, and we found 7 scorpions in one rock one time. It was really wild. No, and then there was, this trip that we took out to this tiny island out in the middle of the Pacific called Pohnpei, in an area known as Micronesia, right? Tiny island in the Pacific where an entire world emerged that will make Easter Island look like tiny in comparison. And then we were up just recently in the mountains of Peru. Now Peru, that's a place that I think would inspire really anybody. It's this super high altitude, romantic, charismatic location with people that still really truly carry the essence of the Inca in every aspect of their life living today, right? I think there was one expedition where in a matter of 2 weeks I was running around Europe, and then I was up in the Arctic Circle, then I was back down in Europe again in these different excavations, all chasing the stories of these hunter-gatherers and the story of our earliest human civilizations. To be up in the Arctic Circle where the sun never sets, that is just exhausting. It's film forever. It's like you never wanted to stop filming because it was always that golden hour, the sun just perfect, right on the hook. And as the sun casts its shadow across the rocks, all of a sudden, boom, you're looking at an image on the rocks, carved by human hands some 10,000 years ago, describing people, a specific individual, fishing to the bottom of the ocean with a line on a little boat, going right down to the bottom of the ocean and then catching a massive halibut, which by the size of it is 3 times the size of the little teeny boat. Now you think about that. 10,000 years ago, how did somebody figure out that there was a halibut down there at the bottom of the ocean, and then figure out how to actually get a line, to create a line that could go hundreds of feet into the ocean, and then trick that massive monster fish into biting onto something in that line and pulling it up and feeding an entire village? How does that happen? How does that happen 10,000 years ago But when that sun's just right and it just hits the rock from just the right angle, all of a sudden you see that snapshot just pop out of the rock. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You know, and then you can scan the whole thing, and then you can rake the light over it digitally and really make it come to life. You know, I was in Jordan, in the deserts of Jordan, you know, where the wonders of Petra have inspired movies throughout the generations, right? But having the chance to fly over that desert at full speed in a Black Hawk, you know, with the doors open, panning around sideways, looking for traces of an ancient road, that's beyond the bucket list. It's just been one of the coolest years of my life.
I mean, does it ever, at one point when you're just saying these things right now, going from the Arctic Circle to flying a Black Hawk over Petra, and does it just seem surreal?
Yeah. Surreal.
Well,
it's totally surreal. It has been one of the, I'd say one of the most surreal experiences of my life, getting this cross section of planet Earth, both in time and also geographically in a single year. You know, you get to see all these different windows into our shared human story, right? Who we are, where we came from. Like, you know, like we say in the film, the wonders that we're capable of achieving when we put our minds to it.
Right.
And it makes you rethink the power of human imagination, both in the past and also in the future.
What is your favorite piece of new technology that you utilized during the filming of this? If you had to pick one.
Oh man, I would say that one of the greatest things that I had available to me was a team of people that were so dedicated that they would go to every single corner of the earth to try to apply the latest technology to those places. And so that's it. It's the people, right? Because the tech is constantly evolving, and we had LiDAR, which I think is one of the most insane things to use right now. It's so beautiful because you can actually scan through all of these different worlds and then delete everything that's hiding the world underneath. And in a way, when you do that, you get this window. It's just like this snapshot into the past in an entire landscape arena. And so you have a team that I worked with, these guys, Joe and Duncan, that scanned this high altitude mountain. You know, we were up way up high, 14,000 feet of elevation in the mountains of Peru. And you think of LiDAR as being something you use in the jungles, and we did use it in the jungles. We actually found legitimate new cities in the jungles of Colombia, hidden, you know, for thousands of years. But up in the mountains of Peru, you don't have those trees. What you do have is maybe 2 to 3 foot high brush and thorns and cactus that really stop you from going anywhere. I mean, the cactus is gnarly, the cacti, I guess, right? But when we scanned the entire top of that mountain, once we got all the way up there, under blazing hot sun conditions and high winds and great exposure, when we deleted that top 3 feet of growth, all of a sudden you saw that the mountain itself was carved out away into these terraces, that the entire top of the mountain had been carved away by human hands, people who showed up in the time before even the Inca. And you see that mountain and you realize that mountain might have been a prototype, might have been on the Inca's journey to be able to create something like that, and then use the inspiration of that to create something like Machu Picchu a few hundred years later. That was only made possible because of the power of LiDAR.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, I can't wait to watch this series, and I want to give everybody just again, you know, a reminder. So October 20th is the premiere. So that's Sunday, October 20th.
I think that's like a sneak.
What's that?
That's like a sneak peek, right?
That's the sneak peek.
I feel like the big premiere, because then it's going to be every Monday, is on Mondays.
Mondays.
Yeah.
For the first episode on Monday, October 21st, where do we go on that one?
Well, you go to one of the most incredible places I've ever been, which is the Sierra Nevada of Colombia, the highest coastal mountain range in the world, where you start out at sea level and then you end up at the base camp of Everest within a few miles, basically, straight up. And in that journey, you go up into these jungles, and what you'll see is the experience that I had. So be there viscerally with me, where we literally had to decide if it was even possible for us to get to one of those locations that we found on the map that we created using lasers. And we had some of the world's deadliest snakes. My second cameraman actually almost stepped on a Fairland snake I saw it right there, and the sound guy just kind of held him. David just held him. He's like, "Hey, let's all just back away for a minute." You look down, and there's a snake that you have a 50-50 chance of surviving, even with the anti-venom, if you can get down. And we had helicoptered in there in under fog, so you don't even know if you can get a helicopter in. And we had to go with an entire. We were able to get the Colombian military to come and join us, so that we could make our way through these mountains that have been, subject to being the site for parked guerrillas for a while, for, the warlords, and the site of all these intense jungle animals that really will kill you, and make our way up that mountain in search of a lost city. And without trying to give it all away, we were satisfied with what we found.
Well, that's the perfect tease. I think you've just done an excellent job of selling it as if it wasn't going to sell itself already. Albert, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on the show. I'm really looking forward to this. I want to remind everybody, Monday, October 21st, 9/8 Central on the National Geographic channel. Go watch it. Thank you for being here with us today.
Let's bump coffee mugs again.
There we go. Cheers. All right, coming up next, we have Goldie Chan from LinkedIn. Yes, she posts a new video every single day. We're going to talk to her about how she's able to do that, what she posts, and what she can share with you to help out your LinkedIn profile. All that's coming up here on Digital Trends Live. And hello, it's Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, talking about our favorite moments of 2019. And there are a lot of them to choose from, but we selected this one for you because it's Goldie Chan. Yes, Goldie is an incredible influencer. She is very, very popular on LinkedIn and has a lot of advice to share with all of us. So let's sit back, relax, and listen to Goldie Chan here on Digital Trends Live. We're on LinkedIn Live, but there's somebody who's been on there a lot longer than us, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm Greg Nibbler, welcoming now to the show. We have Goldie Chan. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's really exciting to talk to you and kind of pick your brain and talk about your history. And I thought for everybody who's just joining us on whatever platform they're watching on, maybe we could get just a little bit of your history and how you got into this, and then we'll talk about your shows and everything else from there.
Absolutely. So I joined LinkedIn Video right at the beginning of everything. So I got into the LinkedIn Video beta, and I've been creating daily consecutive videos for almost 2 years now. So that's close to 700 videos now. Never skipped a day. I was once in the desert and I made my friends backtrack to a Starbucks so I could upload that daily video. And now I work with amazing brands like I've worked with WeWork. I currently work with Adobe and just did a live stream from their headquarters. So a hashtag LinkedIn Live from Adobe talking about customer experience and all those wonderful things.
Which, I mean, live video is such a great way to connect. I mean, clearly we love it here at Digital Trends. Right. I love being able to talk to people directly, and which, by the way, if you're watching live, drop in your comments. We'll certainly address those as we go through. But platform. So you said a video every day. Like, what kinds of things do you talk about on your show? How do you find enough content to fill that by yourself? Because that's a lot.
Right. Well, you guys also do daily videos here. So I have to say we're same in that way. So I do a show. It's called hashtag Daily Goldie. Makes a lot of sense. Not really hitting it out of the park there. I actually crowdsourced that from my audience. So about 100, 200 videos in, my audience said, we want you to have a hashtag. So I was like, great, I will do one then. And one of the fun things that I did when I was thinking about creating this channel was I actually originally started talking about pop culture in the branding and metrics and numbers behind pop culture phenomenons like Harry Potter or trains in the US or street art posters. And then from there, I moved on to my area of expertise, which is I've been working in digital marketing for over a decade. And so I talk a lot about branding, a lot about marketing, a lot about experiential fun stuff, which AK is me live streaming from, say, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Florida.
Nice.
And then talking about how the branding and marketing is built into that experience to get you to buy more. There's me, yes, at the new Star Wars Galaxy Edge, which isn't even open to the public yet. So I'm screaming, you can't hear it, which is probably for the best. And that video is shaky because I'm so excited to be there. And I wasn't actually really prepared to be there. But I love to take people along and then really think through these cool experiences instead of just being like, I'm here at, say, Pixar headquarters. I like to think, okay, we're here at Pixar headquarters. Now, how has Pixar really come into the cultural zeitgeist? How has branding and marketing that they've done really come in, and now we buy those toys? Now we think about certain things in a certain way because they've infiltrated our pop culture in a certain way.
Right. I think that's I mean, well, number one, I could probably talk to you for a half hour just asking you about the Star Wars. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try to focus. That's so awesome, though.
I got a custom lightsaber. That's all I have to say. It was the coolest thing. Today I'm releasing a video on the whole custom lightsaber thing. I will link you to it.
Please. Thank you. That's amazing. I want to find out how that happened. But other than that, though, I mean, so you know, your topics that you talk about, you know, bringing people in and creating that experience. So while you're doing that, how do you interact with your listeners? Like, what do you think for yourself, and then for brands? Like, what's the best way for them to interact with the people who are watching their channels?
So when I work with brands like, once again, Adobe, I love getting that instant feedback. So one of the live streams I just did very recently from headquarters was, how can we get customers to love us more, right? And Adobe has done a really great job of that because they have the Creative Cloud suite, they have the Experience suite. But I mean, I've been a Photoshop user since before I could walk, is what I like to say. I use Photoshop, I use Premiere, I use all these products, and it's really having the brands understand who is their super fan and addressing and creating an open channel for them. So live streaming is so perfect for that, because you're able to then directly talk to your customers who love you and let them really interact with you, ask questions. I actually got a question from somebody who's located in Africa asking if she could get licenses to Adobe products. And I thought that was so wonderful, because I'm getting people from all over, literally all over the world, asking questions about this brand when I'm usually representing these brands. So I think that's the best part about live streaming.
That's great. I mean, and I'll say for us, like, I love the people who are commenting. It's like they're part of the show. You know, you're a part of this. So that's why I appreciate everybody who watches live addressing them too. you know, they're a part of this platform. We're all in this together, and their comments and feedback are just as important as anything that we say on here. For you, like, another question for somebody out there, because we're talking about that on the brand side and for the company side, but say there's somebody out there who's a person, like an influencer, or wants to be an influencer, wants to figure out how to get into that. What kind of advice would you have for somebody who's like just starting out?
So be focused. I think that is the number one speed bump I see people run into, which is they get on live stream and bless them, but they go on and then they talk for 20, 40, 2 hours about absolutely nothing. And for some platforms that works great, right? I have friends who stream on Twitch, and they literally go on and they talk about nothing for 2 hours, and it's somehow very magical. But if you want to be taken seriously in, say, a business context, it's much better to have a singular focus. So when you're on Facebook Live, when you're on LinkedIn Live, yay, when you're on Periscope, when you're on any of these live streaming platforms, it's a little bit easier if you have a singular focus, even on Instagram Live, right? Mm-hmm. It's much better when you know, okay, this person is on, they're streaming about relationships or something like that. So it's just easier to have a singular focus when you're live streaming, and even better if you want brownie points, to have all of those singular dots, those singular foci, all be under one umbrella. So say you're always talking about relationships, you're always talking about advertising, you're always talking about veterinary work. So having everything come underneath one big umbrella will just make it easier for people to understand who you are and to understand if they want to keep tuning into you.
Great advice. I think that's absolutely great. So that way somebody knows what they're getting when they're tuning into it. You know? Okay, something else I wanted to ask, and I know I need to get to a break here pretty quick, but for all these different places that you've gone to do your live streams, what is maybe your favorite spot and maybe one of the weirdest spots that you've ever done a live stream from?
It's a pretty terrible question to ask me because I always like to live stream from weird and crazy places. I've actually literally
weirdest.
broken LinkedIn Live. Probably shouldn't say that on an air, but I was one of the very, very first beta testers, and they were like, go at it. And I was like, you really shouldn't have just let me do that. I love streaming from just really different places. So I love Disney. I love Harry Potter, as I've said before. I love going into headquarters of places that other people don't have access to, like YouTube, like Twitter, like all of these big places that literally build the products so we can live stream on them, and taking people behind the scenes. So you know what? I do think that one of my favorite live streams was that one I did actually from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Florida, where I was just live streaming. I was on vacation and I did a live stream because my friends were waiting in this crazy queue. And I thought, why don't we talk about brand marketing while I do spells? And so, and I think that is the joy of live streaming, is if you have a singular focus, anyone who tunes into my live stream knows that I'm going to be talking about branding and marketing, and that it's not just me having fun, although it definitely is. There is a focus there, and so they understand when they tune in that while it's fun and out of the box, it's still underneath that main Daily Goldie umbrella.
Nice. The perfect combination of both. So you get something, real information while watching you, create spells at the same time.
Exactly.
Well, Goldie, I want to say thank you very much to you for joining us today. To talk about this, it's really, really cool. And for everybody who's watching, whatever platform they're on, what's the best way to follow you and watch your videos?
Obviously, you should follow me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Goldie. And if you are anywhere in LA, please come to VidCon, where I will be speaking this year.
Nice. Congratulations. That's so cool. And congrats on all your success and everything that you're doing. Fascinating videos. Looking forward to seeing what you put up today. And I will watch the lightsaber one, even though I'm insanely jealous. Goldie, thanks so much for being here on Digital Trends Live. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Bye.
Well, thank you to Goldie Chan for being here on the show, but thank you to all of you for watching. We've had an incredible year here at Digital Trends Live, and it's really all because of you who watch this show. And that's why we like to share these moments with you. We like to share all kinds of things that we learn about, and that's why I want you to do this. Hit that subscribe button. That's the holiday present I'm asking from you, is to hit that subscribe button, and we'll make sure to bring you brand new shows every single day talking about technology, keeping you up to date on everything that's going on in tech. So have a great time. We'll talk to you next time with some more Digital Trends Live.